We want to focus on Ukraine now, where military officials say Russia launched an air attack on the capital overnight using Iranian-made drones. City officials say Kyiv's air defenses destroyed all the drones, though you're looking at photos of some homes that were damaged by falling debris. This is the first time the capital has been targeted with drones since the failed rebellion led by Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner mercenary group. We want to bring in CNN's military analyst and retired Air Force Colonel Cedric Leighton. Colonel, great to see you on a weekend. Notable that Russia's targeting Kyiv again today, as we've seen all these signs of disarray following that failed rebellion by Prigozhin.
Yeah, that's for sure, Boris. And, one of the key things to think about, though, is that while we think of the disarray that we're seeing in Russia, we're also seeing the fact that the Russian armed forces are still conducting their missions. They're still dangerous. They're still very active in areas that can threaten the capital. And the fact that they use the Shahid drones from Iran to do this indicates that the command and control is still working well enough to do something like this. They still have plenty of munitions, and they still have plenty of will to take the battle to the Ukrainians. And that's something that we have to keep in mind as things move forward.
Yeah, certainly in the middle of this counteroffensive from the Ukrainians, too. Notable that there is new reporting in the Washington Post about the CIA director and a recent meeting that he had with President Zelensky. The Post reporting that Zelensky shared plans with him to retake territory from Russia, to put artillery at Crimea's border, and then to open ceasefire talks with the Kremlin before the end of the year. How does that plan strike you? It's very different from what we'd previously heard, at least publicly, from Zelensky.
Yeah, well, I think Zelensky was kind of keeping some things pretty close to the vest, at least until this report came out. And I do believe, though, Boris, that it's a fairly realistic plan if it, holds true according to the reporting in the Washington Post. And the reason I say it's fairly realistic is the Ukrainian goal always seems to have been to, at the very least, cut the land bridge between Crimea and the Donbas region, the region that the Russians have occupied since 2014. The fact that they had that land bridge was a significant blow to the Ukrainians once this invasion started. So if they can roll that back and they move forward according to that plan, then what you will see is a pretty big change in the table of forces, if you will, in the eastern part of Ukraine. So if they move forward toward the Sea of Azov, the Ukrainians, that will then allow them to cut that land bridge and could potentially give them leverage for potential peace talks.
There's also something notable about the CIA director meeting directly with Zelensky. We've seen all sorts of top officials from the United States and Europe and around the world meeting with the president of Ukraine. But it's especially significant in part because it also happened only a few weeks before this attempt by Prigozhin to topple the leadership of the Kremlin. What do you make of the timing of that visit?
Well, the timing is certainly very interesting, and I think the one thing we have to keep in mind is that the director of the CIA has not only a major intelligence mission, but also a bit of a diplomatic portfolio as well. He's one of the primary interfaces between the intelligence services of other countries and our own intelligence community. And in that role, and plus given his personal experience as ambassador, Director Burns is pretty well ideally suited to being somebody who can go ahead and have these meetings with foreign leaders like President Zelensky. I think in one way he was reassuring Zelensky that the United States is still supporting him, but he was also looking at those plans from an intelligence perspective and seeing if the intelligence that we are collecting helps the Ukrainians achieve the goals of the plan that Zelensky allegedly laid out to Director Burns.
And on the note about ongoing support for Ukraine from the West, President Zelensky spoke last night and expressed some concern. Let's listen to what he said.
The most important thing for Ukraine is not to